Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today we're going to get on with part 2 of our art museum build. Now before we get started on the second floor of our art museum, I did want to let you know that the Mayor of Brick Derby had been in touch, just to thank us really for name dropping his Museum of Shiny Things in Brick Derby, where they've seen attendances soar over the last week to triple the normal numbers. So it's really nice to see a neighbouring city attracting 6 guests rather than the usual 2 in a week. Anyway, for channel news, there's been quite a lot going on in the last week, even though we've missed a couple of normally scheduled videos. And don't think I've been taking a break away from Lego, because it's quite the opposite. I've been making an absolute mountain of orders to get bricks for next builds that are coming up that I finished the designs of. So we've got 6 orders that I've made in recent days from Bricklink. So that'll be 6 packages arriving over the next few days and months. And some of the bigger builds that is to allow us to create include the supermarket, which will be in a very interesting place in my city, something that some of you might want to replicate in due course, I don't know, but that's a bit of a teaser for that one. Another thing I've done is finished the development of all of the rail carriages that will be pulled by the Flying Knotsman, the black steam locomotive that we did recently. And if I do say so myself, that is probably the best train build I've ever done. Not the locomotive, the carriages that it will be pulling. They are absolutely beautiful. Now, they're still done in a Lego style, so I don't think the real train buffs who want everything to be an accurate representation of real life will be satisfied, but I do firmly believe that nothing will please them in a way. Not all of them anyway, given they don't agree with each other. But for me, I think it's an absolutely brilliant build, so I'm really looking forward to getting all of the parts for those, some of them quite unusual. I've definitely never seen trains doing in Lego the building techniques that I've used on mine, so that's a bit of a tantalizing teaser for that one as well. Other things I've been getting up to in the Lego world include trying to finish the build for my Daily Bugle, which is absolutely massive and has quite a lot of repetitive elements actually. So I've got up to the roof, including Firestar, who's hanging off here, and she'll be very briefly on there before she gets commandeered by Mrs. Hood, I'm sure. So all that remains is for me to do the Daily Bugle sort of 3D sign. And I was considering already changing that. The real life paper in real life Nottingham is called the Nottingham Post, or the Nottingham Evening Post. But if I call it the Brick Nottingham Post or the Brick Nottingham Evening Post, it's just going to be an absolutely massive, massive sign. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to change that to make it appropriate for my city. Maybe I'll just have no 3D sign on it at all. No, you've got to, Robin. So I've been doing that. Other things are I'm setting up a PO box in lieu of Brick Hall number 100, which I'm planning to have available so all of you can send in whatever you want to, and we'll do a massive unboxing as the Hall 100. So more details on that in due course. And then I've got another even bigger announcement, which will probably coincide, if I can, with the 20,000 subscribers figure, which we're sort of ticking towards very slowly at the moment, but nonetheless, all progress is welcome. And I'm not going to give you any teaser on that one, but it is a massive announcement, and I think it will excite a lot of people. So that's a really good one as well. So I have been very busy indeed. So anyway, back to today's video. I've been wittering too much. We'll say goodbye to Brick Derby's mayor, and we'll reacquaint ourselves with the 2 security guards, Security Sam and Security Sally, who can step to one side. So last time we did this wonderful build, and there's a few parts that are loose that are going to be part of the street furniture. And I did have some suggestions for all sorts of things, as usual. I'm only going to do one of those today, and that was very, very creative and very, very simple, which is one of my most favourite type of amendments to receive. And that was just to change the door handle from this normal 1x1 stud to a red gem piece. So it tied in with the logo that we decided on, representing the museum system in Brick Nottingham. So look at that. A very, very little and subtle improvement, but very easily done. And that's why it's my favourite type of amendment. So thank you very much for that one. Here is your Bedoing. Great. So what we did last time was the ground floor. very much based on 60008 museum break-in from 2013, except we've doubled the footprint and we're also going to double the height by making it 2 floors today. We've got the cameras on the outside, and I did change the colour of one of those tiles so they matched. And we had Tracy Emin's My Bed, we had the Mondrian on the wall, we had the Chinese art here, the girl with the pearl earring, and the 3 pictures, all from the 8160 Cruncher Block and Racer X set. And it is at this point that I have a bit of a confession to make, and I actually did make a mistake in what I was telling you all, and it was about the one that this particular picture came from, which was by Raphael. I said it was on one of the walls of the Sistine Chapel. It wasn't. I got confused. It's actually in Dresden. Not even close. But anyway, so there we are. There is our ground floor. And you'll see there is one more amendment that I made, actually. Almost forgot to mention that and give it its bedewing. It's just for a very low profile bench in the sort of biggest area available for one. And it's kind of a bit cramped in there with it, but yeah, I think that's about right. So I tried to make it as low profile as possible, but I think that works. So that gets a bedewing as well. Great, so I'm going to put this to one side and we'll get on with doing the structure of the second floor. And bearing in mind that it's going to have to dovetail with these columns so they continue up. So that's going to be our first bit of attention. Okay. So I'm going to try and not bore you with the more simple parts of this build. I've done a very straightforward floor for going on the top, except I have left a couple of gaps in the sort of surround that's going to be clipping on, so these 2 floors can be very easily separated. And that's just so I can add quite a strong sticking out structure for those 2 pillars continuing. So that should be strong enough to hold it all together on the bottom end, and it will kind of look like that. So when this fits on top of the floor below, it will kind of clip on like that. Ooh, yeah, relatively easily, and look very smooth. So normally you wouldn't have columns being supported by kind of a cross horizontal beam halfway up, but you know, it's either that or having them really wobbly. So I think it's a necessity in this case, and it lifts off very easily indeed. So then I'm going to flip this just so we can put in all as one part. Look at that, the entire walls and window setup. And this is going to absolutely mirror the original set and the downstairs build as well, like that, by having these sort of rather stripy walls with the odd sort of modified brick in the wall for taking some artwork. And in that respect, it's very simple. And I did have one criticism that normal museums don't have vast windows so you can see all the exhibits from the outside. I'm not even sure that's true, but even so, it's really important that you see some of the exhibits in Brick Nottingham from a great way off, so you can sort of see that there's something really interesting to go and investigate. So from a Lego perspective, it's definitely very important indeed. So on each of these, we're going to have to continue the wonderful kind of grooved pillars going up there. And then because in one of my brick halls I came across another pair of these banners, I thought, well, why not? You know, more is more, as I always say, rather than less is more. So I'll just add on another set of those. And I really wanted to use as many modified bricks as I could to really jazz these pillars up. So I've got some square grooved modified brick there, and one of these ones with the sort of cross bar, and I'm actually going to have those facing backwards, because facing forwards I'm going to have one even better than that, and that is the absolutely wonderful lion head brick, which is a very odd shaped brick, quite hard to use, but they are just absolutely wonderful. And that will be the capital, or the sort of wider top part of the column, and that just looks absolutely magnificent. I think you'll agree. I have used those before, actually, in grey, and actually on what will be probably an adjacent building, the GBC building. So I've got one above this sort of side door there, and one right in the middle at the top. But I figured it being a different colour, it wouldn't be so bad to use the same thing. And then to add even more detail, I'm just going to add some of these modified plates on the sides like that. So it really looks like it's got a lot of detail in the stonework. And then much like we kind of pinned the pillars on the ground floor to the walls, I'm going to do the same thing here. So I've got some 6 long tiles to kind of clip that in. And that means that that ain't going anywhere. So that's nice and robust. And here is its twin. that can go on the other side like that. So that pretty much is the outside front done, and that will look like that. And you need to push it down on the front just to mesh with that, and you can see there it's pretty good. Let's wheel up there so we can see the lion heads. There we go. I think that's looking really special. Maybe 4 of these is too much, but like I say, I kind of like too much sometimes. It always reminds me of doing those model aircraft when I was younger, and you'd get an option to put on bombs or put on the underwing guns or something like that, and I was always put on both. Why have one when you can have both? So on to the inside then. Now, last time we added quite a diverse range of sort of old art and newer art, and I'm more of a fan of the newer art because it kind of makes you think, even though a lot of it is very questionable in its art worthiness. And the bed especially, a lot of people didn't like last time just because they were like, why is that bed in a museum? But that's kind of the point of modern art in my mind, is to make us sort of talk about it and think about it. And I'm going to continue in a similar way on the top floor. So it's going to be largely more modern art here. And I was looking back through my own actual genuine holiday snaps, really, modern art museums that I've been to around the world, especially in New York, where they've got an absolutely huge amount of it. And was seeing which ones of those I could replicate in Lego format. And one of those is a picture by Andy Warhol, who's one of the most famous pop artists, if not the most famous. And he did a picture called 200 $1 bills in 1962, and well, yeah, it was made of 200 $1 bills. But now it recently sold in 2009 for $43.8 million. So yeah. So I thought I'd do a very similar build, which is very simple, but that's kind of the best build in a way for Lego. And it's just a great big green plate with loads of, well, $100 bills in this case, making up the front of it. And I think that looks really good, actually. So that's going to be the first of my pieces of art, and that's going to entirely fill that side wall. You know, wall space is at a premium, but for it to look right and to represent that real life picture accurately, I think it really did have to be that big. So you can probably see that something really big is going to be happening here, and a heck of a lot of you guessed it as well, actually. So I'm going to go along the back first, which, well, arguably we're going to completely conceal in due course. And I was looking through my parts collection at some really interesting bits and bobs, and I had this Islander mask. Now, this isn't a representation of a real life piece of art, and I'm not trying to do it as some sort of part of like almost a natural history museum or a anthropological sort of museum in Brick Nottingham. I'm sort of thinking this would actually be a piece of art, kind of like those ornate masks you get in Venice and things like that. So though it doesn't represent a real life piece of art, I just thought it was so exotic, it'd be good to have it in here. So I'm just going to put that in a plinth in that window gap there. And a lot of people suggested that I have individual lights above each of the exhibits, and even a little maybe letter tile or something like that to represent the sort of details of that piece of art. And I could do both of those things. I'm not anti it as such, but the thing about this museum is I really wanted it to work on its own basis and kind of look very uncluttered in a way. So you really were focusing on the artworks themselves rather than any of the sort of bits around them. So I think I'm going to keep it very, very simple and pure in that regard. So the next piece of art, because people wanted more 3D pieces, more sort of sculptures and things, I thought I'd add some pottery. So this is just 2 sort of minifigure heads. I can't remember what line these are from now, actually. That's unlike me, isn't it? Was it Explorians? I think it was one of the space ones. And you're supposed to look at these heads with a slightly sort of coloured see-through piece, and it would show certain patterns on underneath. But I've got the same one sort of back to front, one above the other, to represent a very ornate piece of pottery. And a very famous potter in the UK is Grayson Perry, who's made loads of pots, including this one, Sex, Drugs and Earthenware from 1995. So I thought that could represent one of his works in that window. And then one of the most famous abstract artists of a generation was Salvador Dali, of course, so I thought it'd be great to have something of his in here. And his paintings are so crazy, it'd be very hard to do in Lego pieces. But he also made all sorts of wonderful sort of real life pieces. And one of them was his very famous lobster telephone. Now, you might be thinking at this point, looking at my Lego version, what on earth is that supposed to be? Well, check this out. Lobster telephone from 1938 was exactly that. A lobster stuck on top of a phone. So what I've done here is got an old school red phone and stuck a Lego lobster on top of it. And, well, personally, I think that is brilliant. Simple, but brilliant. So that is going to go there and represent Salvador Dali's contribution. Wonderful. Then another generic one like this one that doesn't really represent anyone specific. I just thought I'd get a Lego micro figure in dark blue this time, and that's just going to represent a regular statue, and that I'm just going to put in the last window there, or penultimate window should I say. So we've got quite a good array of interesting pieces all crammed in a line. And another very famous abstract artist is Jackson Pollock. Now, the paintings that he always does are very much splat-based and sort of dribble-based and things like that. So Convergence is a very good example of his work. And I actually stumbled across a sticker from a set that's actually 75823, Bird Island Egg Heist, which is an Angry Bird set from 2016. And that had this sticker on it. And I thought, well, that was very splatty indeed. And that's from the inside of the sort of house of that set. And I just thought that would be another really good artwork to put in my museum. Although it probably is a bit too small, really, for a Jackson Pollock, because his ones are usually really big. But I really like those. I wouldn't pay millions of pounds for them, but I do really like them. And that leads us to our final big wall. So we want another really big one here. And what I did for this one, well, was build something, but an artwork. And that might sound contradictory, but I had great fun building this. It's probably the one that took the longest to do, but I really did enjoy making it. And it was one of the spot paintings by Damien Hirst. And here it is. And I thought it was very clever of me, if I do say so myself, just to basically use loads of 1x1 plates, 1x2 jumper plates, and 2x2 jumper plates to create a kind of a network of studs that were available to put these 1x1 round plates on of all the different colours. And that would represent one of his many, many spot paintings that he's done over the years from 1986 to 2011. And this is another one of those art pieces that really splits opinion in the fact that you'll have basically a white canvas with loads of coloured dots, perfectly placed circles, all in lines, selling for absolutely millions of pounds. And what makes that even worse is that, well, he said out of a few hundred that he'd done in the last batch, which he's probably made an absolute fortune on, he only did 3 himself. It was one of his assistants that was much better at drawing circles that did the remainder. So, I mean, that really does add insult to injury, if you ask me. But nonetheless, I've used as many different coloured 1x1 round plates as I could to colour this in. I could have used tiles, but I had these and I didn't have enough of the tiles, and I thought that that would do anyway. Makes it nice and lumpy, but I thought the texture kind of added to it rather than taking away. And it's just a combination of plates on the back to make it the right dimensions. But yeah, so there is a Damien Hirst wonderful picture there, and it takes the full width of our room, so I'll probably have to do it at about that height, so it looks well balanced. So what do we think of that? That really is a packed and stacked gallery. Now, these are not for benches, and I don't think we're going to have room for benches either, because the biggest thing is going to be taking up the majority of this room. And if it was going back a bit bigger, this building, then I'd probably space it a bit more away from the front windows. But nonetheless, I'm going to do it. And this was the one that most of you suggested. And it was basically putting a shark, a Lego shark, in loads of trans light blue window frames with the glass in there to represent another Damien Hirst piece, his very famous The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living, which is a very sort of overblown title for this art piece. And the real one was done in 1991, again by Damien Hirst, the guy who did the spot paintings. And if somebody said that I could get an old shark and basically pickle it and get millions and millions of pounds for it, then I'd have been very impressed and tried to source one myself. It can't be that easy to pickle it, but the real one actually needed its shark replacing, believe it or not, when it started going off. It's not even the original shark. So that is in a great big case that's neatly tiled on the inside and pretty much accurate to the original, and that's just going to go on those jumpers there. So if I want to, I can lift it up very easily and lift it out as well, so we can look at all the other stuff without doing any more irreparable damage. So that is my second floor of the museum, and I think it's looking really good. Let's take a view from a slightly higher up perspective. Right, so here's the two floors joined together from slightly further back and higher up. And far from being a problem having these glass windows all along the front, I think it's an absolute attribute because we can see all of those wonderful things all the way through to the shark actually from the front, but not see all of the details. So it definitely wants us to go in and take a look. And given that our museum is free to enter, there's no problem with people seeing the art for free because, well, they can come in for free. So it's no problem whatsoever. So I think the front looks very grand with these pillars going all the way up now with the wonderful lion capitals on the top. And if we look at the back as well, we can lift it off very easy to look in the ground floor, putting it back on relatively easily. Yep, we can look in the top, remove the shark, he says easily, having... oh dear, glued it down pretty hard to look at all of the wonderful new stuff in there, which I think looks absolutely great. And put that back in as well. Maybe I should just make two of those jumpers and two of them tiles or something like that to make the grip a little less. So yeah, that's looking great. So what we now need, obviously, is a roof. I don't think we can do a third floor without making these pillars look a bit too long and a bit too skinny. So I think we need to go straight onto the roof. And I'm not going to go too much into the build of this, rather than just showing you the finished product really, because it is just an expansion of the one from that original museum break-in set. I've basically widthened this bit so we've got a much bigger skylight, and that should give us a lot more light to those artworks below, especially the shark, well, the lid of the shark tank. Now we've got this simple surround around the top with the City Museum sticker from that set 60008, and that just goes all the way around like that. And the only really interesting thing that I've done on there is just add an extra couple of plates on the underside here that makes aligning the roof with the main body a lot easier, he says. There we go. So that clips on and looks rather fantastic. I think you'll agree. So there is our grand roof, and that's the bit that's overhanging just a little bit, but I don't think that's going to conflict with the buildings at either side. So that looks rather good if you ask me, and from the back. But we're not done there. The original set had a clock just above the City Museum sign, but unfortunately it was one of the rather boring 2x2 tiles, and I thought I could do a lot better with that. Basically I do all sorts of things on my brick walls, but sometimes I just collect interesting pieces of certain types because I know they're going to be useful, and one of those is clocks. And this is a very interesting and beautiful clock that's from a couple of sets, including the Winter Village Station 10259 from 2017. And it's got the Roman numerals on there, so we have to have it this way around. But it is actually on a shield piece. You can see there's the sort of handle of the shield. So we'd have to incorporate that into whatever build. So we could put that in pride of place above the sign. So what I did was create a much bigger kind of surround for the clock than was in the original set. And you can see in the midst of that are two horizontal grabber modified bricks. And those two are going to clip onto the bar there on the back, and I'll just align it before clipping it in, and then it is pretty much absolutely flush and seamless. So I think that looks really good. and then we can just put that entire thing on the top. And I think that is the crowning glory. How about that? Yeah, we've kind of got the shoulders behind that bit, and it all looks rather ornate with these two sort of MIDI figures in grey representing some sort of statuary as well. Yeah, looking good. I like that a lot. And then I was thinking about the sort of staging of this whole scene in the city. And when we've got two security guards, and they could be going around the museum with all of the paying guests. Oh, well, rather not paying guests, the culture fans who are coming for free. But I thought it'd be more fun to have the security system that we've got here on the Technic pieces in its down position, because maybe they're getting ready to open the museum and they're actually just staging it at the moment, and therefore the security guards could be prowling, looking for any sort of break-in, and in that regard I could give them both a torch to do their job. So the door security would be on, the cameras would be on, these two would be doing their rounds, but already, even before we've opened this whole exhibition, there's been a theft. And who better to perform that theft than the Series 15 jewel thief, who's got her grapple gun, and she comes with this diamond, but we wouldn't have a diamond in this museum, so I'm going to get rid of that. But why not have her on the roof, either breaking in or breaking out? Because I figure it's much more interesting if she's already done the robbery and is trying to make her escape with her grapple gun rather than getting in. So I was thinking on the roof of here, we'd have one of these non-alarmed, strangely, skylights open, and she'd just be kind of exiting with her grapple gun. Maybe should be something like that. And I thought I could give her another painting. And the reason why I thought this is because basically I made too many paintings for the amount of wall space I've got. I've got one too many. And this is one I made myself, and is here. And it's kind of some, well, bins behind some apartment buildings, really. And I've done it in one of the nice frames, like I did the girl with the pearl earring. And this is actually a 4x6 modified plate or tile, depending how you look at it, that was part of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set, 79103, Turtle Lair Attack from 2013. And that's one that the Turtles are painting, probably Michelangelo, the orange turtle. I think he was the artist, even though they all are technically. And I thought that would be a fun painting for our thief to have stolen. So maybe she's sort of manhandling that out of the skylight. I don't know if that's too big or not, but I think if it looks a bit silly, then maybe that makes it a little bit more funny. So you have to tell me what you think of that scene for the roof. The fact that it's nice and big means that it's immediately apparent what's going on, with the skylights way open and this very large painting in her clutches. And I figure they've made it even easier for her to escape, if you think about it, because basically to get out of this skylight, one thing you can do is climb up the side of this and just stand on it to step out, really. So they really haven't designed it in a very secure way. But do let me know what you think of the top floor, what you think of this clock. I'm very impressed with that, actually. Do tell me what you think of the wonderful theft scene there. Ooh, with our jewel thief turned art thief. I think that looks rather good. And do tell me what you think of all the artworks in here. I'm going to try and pull this off again. I think the shark is my favourite. Do tell me if it's yours. But I think all of the ones upstairs are pretty good, all the way from the $100 $1 bills to the Salvador Dali lobster telephone, and even the dot picture itself. So yeah, I'm very happy with all of those. And then there were some more suggestions to go to the sticker pack and make use of these wonderful Museum This Way stickers, and I will be doing that in due course. What I'll probably do is mount them onto these sort of modified tiles with the clips on, and then I can kind of attach them to lampposts, and I'll have one probably near the beach pointing towards the museum, and maybe the other one sort of outside the airport pointing towards the museum, and I'll place those wherever makes most sense for wherever we place this building, which I think we're going to have to do another day. One point to note with these stickers is don't put them on a black background. I was going to use these, but I remembered that basically they aren't the best quality stickers and all of that colour will fade a great deal. So you always use sort of white, and I'm thinking I'll get away with tan here, which will kind of better match the building that it's pointing towards. Yes, so bits to add to the city, more jobs to do, but yeah, I think the museum build itself is a great success. Good. There is my finished museum, and I'm very impressed with it. If we go back to what we were trying to achieve right at the beginning, it was to try and keep the style and the feel of that original museum build from the museum break-in set. And I think we've achieved that. It's definitely very recognisable, even if we have improved everything from the clock to the pillars to, well, the size of the building and definitely all the contents. And that's where I've really had the most fun doing this build. I've really enjoyed piecing together the 3D pieces of art, especially little things like the lobster telephone, but also using all of those stickers that I've been collecting over brick walls to make those interesting painted art pieces. So yeah, I think it's a great build, and I'm really looking forward to putting it in the city, where it will be probably either side of the GBC building, or maybe I'll move that along as well. Right next to the tram line, I don't know, it might clash with that, so it probably can't go there, but I'm sure we'll find a great position for it in due course. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. Do let me know also which is your favourite piece of art in this museum, or if your favourite artist was missed out for some reason, and I'll see what I can do about it. But if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. They do help very much, especially with some of the bigger, more expensive announcements that are coming up soon. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, we'll be doing a haul on Wednesday. Yes, we definitely do have a package now, as I said earlier, so we're all right for that. And then on Friday, who knows what we'll be up to. So, whatever we do, I'm sure it'll be great fun. So see you then.